People are the way that they are, and it will only have to come, and it can only come from a person to see and identify that this is actually counterproductive, that it's not helpful. These traits, this thing about me, I need to work on it. You need to also not look at people as broken, because when you start looking at a person as something or someone that is broken, you are going to, from where you are standing, see it as, okay, I can fix this. This needs to be fixed. You are not responsible for healing anyone. You are not responsible for taking responsibility for somebody else's well-being. You are not a helper. You are a human being who has their own things to deal with. And you cannot love someone out of their problems. Hi community, welcome to this week's episode of A Cupful. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I hope you are doing good. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you are taking each day as it comes. Don't forget that it is your race, so that means that it is your pace. So in this week's episode, I am reminding you to remember that you can't change anyone, and you shouldn't want to either. I know that sometimes we can find ourselves wanting to change other people in our lives because we are human, but the moment that you start to realize how toxic that can be and how detrimental it can be to your own well-being, then you've just got to see it for what it is and stop in your tracks and say to yourself, absolutely no, because it isn't your responsibility to want to change, whether it be a partner, a family member, a friend, or even a co-worker. People are the way that they are, and it will only have to come, and it can only come from a person to see and identify that this is actually counterproductive, that it's not helpful. These traits, this thing about me, I need to work on it. If they aren't going to see it, then they aren't going to see it, and they aren't going to want to change because it's not going to come from them. It's going to come from you, and then you're just going to find yourself doing it's like a full-time job. You're on a shift trying to make a person see things from your perspective. And that's another thing. We shouldn't be fighting or trying to get people to see things from our perspectives. If something is not fitting into your life, if something is not working for you, then the best thing for you to do is to move away from it. But to sit on it or try and obsess about it and try and fix it, that's never the right solution. And what we're trying to do here is to live healthy lives. Just like overall, take care of ourselves and make sure that we are putting ourselves first and make sure that we are the best version of ourselves for us as individuals, and then for our communities and other people that we are in relationships with. So please just be very careful. Make sure that you don't put yourself in a position where you feel like you are responsible for fixing someone, or where you think that you can change how someone behaves or the way that they are. No, that needs to come from them. So the first thing is, you need to also not look at people as broken, because when you start looking at a person as something or someone that is broken, you are going to, from where you are standing, see it as, okay, I can fix this. This needs to be fixed. No. Again, that's going to have to come from that person themselves. I think another thing that as human beings, as people, if I'm directly speaking to someone who might find themselves constantly in situations where they are trying to fix other people or change them, is you need to not see yourself as a therapist or as a fixer. Well, don't put yourself in a position where you have started identifying problems in people, and then you want to start solving them like it's a puzzle or like it's Sudoku. Absolutely not, because that then takes you down the road of criticizing those people, giving them unsolicited advice, pushing your own agenda onto them, like giving them books or materials to read, or like constantly telling them go to therapy, join a support group, just like constantly dropping hints, or even badgering a person and judging them. And you know what that ends up doing? Like, it causes a real rift between you and that person, and a lot of resentment, because it kind of comes across as you are trying to control them, or you are trying to come down on them because you saw them as a problem that needs to be solved. Human beings are people, they are not problems, they are not a puzzle. And the thing is also is when you don't let a person identify things on their own, or not even that, I mean, you can always say to a person, look, I'm seeing this and I think that it's something that you should pay attention to, or I'm seeing this and I really don't appreciate the fact that this is a constant with you. So obviously you're then helping them identify whatever that is. But you can't go beyond that, and you shouldn't want to go beyond that. The minute you want to go beyond that is when it can start becoming toxic, because the truth is we cannot change anyone. You can't change a person, I can't change a person, no one can change anyone that doesn't want to change. And attempting to do that can really, really harm the relationship that you have with that person or with those people. So again, be careful. You need to identify when you start doing that, and then stop yourself, so that you don't take things further than they need to be going. I think that another thing that tends to make other people want to change other people is it becomes a substitute for working on yourself. So you meet this person, you see potential in them, or you meet this person, there are things you like about them, you just click. But the more you get to know them, you're just like, ooh, okay, that's an issue, that's a problem, I can solve this. Sometimes it's coming from a good place, I want to say. But the other times, it's because you are trying to dodge your own healing. The work that you have to do on yourself, you think that it would be an easier job to change another person instead of changing yourself. And that's like a real thing. Some people don't actually mean well. They're just running away from their own problems. So again, when I said be able to identify when you're doing that, be self-aware. Be mindful of your own patterns and your own ways of living, so that you can stop yourself when you are projecting onto other people. And it isn't easier to change another person. It really isn't. You're still doing work, the work that you could have been doing on yourself, with yourself. And it can never be a substitute for you doing your own work. Please don't put yourself in that position. I was reading somewhere and it was saying that our reactivity to another person's behavior can likely be our own unconscious issues coming up. And that's also why I always say that it's important to deal with your issues as a person. You will not be able to move forward from anything when you pretend like something in your life has not happened or it doesn't exist. Acknowledging can be very, very powerful. It is very powerful, and if you give it a chance, it can then be your portal to dealing with your issues and to finding solutions to your own problems. So refrain from projecting, refrain from trying to distract yourself from your own issues. Another thing when it comes to wanting to change other people that might be a motivating factor is to feel like a helper. I always think of it as feeling like a heroine. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I used to be such a big people pleaser, and I'd often find myself then going and taking it further, in my people pleasing. I would want to then change people. So I would want to feel like the hero. I'd want to change people, not because of anything else other than I wanted to be a helper, I wanted to be a heroine. I thought that if I can help someone see things from this specific perspective, then they'll be like, oh my gosh, it's because of you. Thank you. And yeah, it was also really coming from a selfish place. I think I was trying to find a way to avoid my own problems and to just to focus on something else, and definitely not my own issues. So yeah, it was a mix of things. I was a people pleaser, and then I would just always take it a step further and feel like I could also be a heroine and feel like I could help people. But then I realized that I'm not anyone's helper. If I need to be helping anyone, I must be helping myself. And you know, when you are a helper, you are also becoming an enabler. Because when you're a helper, speaking from experience, you very rarely have strong boundaries. There are almost no boundaries. So you're just going to keep taking things a step further. Instead of being supportive emotionally, you now go on to give people unsolicited advice. You want to go and find therapists for people or that specific person. You want to just overcompensate. When that is not helping anymore, it's enabling. So the lines can become blurred very, very quickly. So please, I'm going to say it again. You need to learn to identify and see when you're doing too much and just stop. Because you are not doing anyone any justice. It can become very, very sticky, very, very toxic, so messy. And that is not something that we are trying to do in this space. As a matter of fact, we are trying to grow and heal and just enjoy life and just thrive and be free. And you're not going to do that when you are constantly trying to mind other people's business and be a therapist and be a helper and be a heroine. So just don't. Just don't. In a friendship, in a romantic relationship, refrain. I just wanted to say that when it comes to friendships and romantic relationships, it's so easy to think that if you keep showing a person, if you keep giving them chances, if you keep finding ways to make them understand, then things are going to work out in your favor. And when I say work out in your favor, I mean a person is going to change. Please release yourself from those shackles. If a person is not what you are looking for, if you are attracted or falling in love with or just connected because of the potential that you see in them, then you need to stop and really, really reflect and reevaluate that relationship and why you're there. Because at the end of the day, potential is not the thing that is going to sustain that relationship. There needs to be effort from both parties. It can't just be one person doing the pulling and doing the pushing. So yeah, just refrain. Please release yourself from those shackles. Another thing that I have realized, or that I was seeing that I saw with myself when I was in the position that I had put myself of wanting to change other people that were coming into my life. When I had that mindset, it was because I thought that it was like an expectation. You know, it's a form of being supportive, and that's what another person would expect from me, to be supportive and to help them as much as I can. Now, there's something that I wanted to say about helping people as much as you can. You can't help people as much as you can. You can only help people to a certain point. You can only help people to a certain capacity. And even within that word help, helping doesn't mean enabling. Helping doesn't mean allowing a person to continue to exhibit the same mannerisms, the same behaviors, and then you giving them chances over and over again. That's not helping a person. You are not doing yourself any justice, and you aren't doing them any justice. You are not responsible for healing anyone. You are not responsible for taking responsibility for somebody else's well-being. You are not a helper. You are a human being who has their own things to deal with. And you cannot love someone out of their problems, because that is the biggest recipe for disappointment. That's why love is not enough. Love is not going to carry a relationship through romantic, friendship, family. That's why people cut family off. That's why people cut friends off. That's why people break up with their partners, because love is not enough. There are many, many, many other ingredients that are required to make a relationship work. So, don't think that anyone expects you to do anything. And if a person expects you to heal, if a person expects you to help them heal and to help them deal with all their issues and carry all of their baggage, and someone expects you to just be patient with them whilst they stay the same, no, no, that's just not enough. It doesn't work. You need to distance yourself. You need to remove yourself from that environment. If you go to a person and you tell them that, look, I don't appreciate this is a pattern, you really, really aren't trying, and then they continue to not try, please remove yourself from that, because you are going to find yourself wanting to change them. That's where it starts. That's where it starts. You address it, and then absolutely nothing is done. Then you say, oh, I'll give them another chance. I'll give them another chance. There you go, enabling them. And again, I've been there. In my earlier 20s, I used to really think I had the power of changing people. No one has the power to do that. We can't want to spend our lives, our energy, our time wanting to change anyone. There are also millions, billions of people on this earth. Your people, that some of them you haven't even met yet. Your people that are meant to walk your life journey with you, that are meant to be in specific seasons of your life. And you're also just holding the process of you being able to meet those people back by having people in your life that are not meant to be there. So let go of people that are not willing to change and hear you out, and that are continuing with the same patterns of behavior. You aren't responsible for them. You really, really aren't. Ultimately, we have to all heal ourselves. And when I say we have to all heal ourselves, we need to acknowledge things, we need to accept things, we need to be intentional about working on ourselves. That is an individual's responsibility. You need to want to go to therapy, you need to want to join a support group, you need to want to open your heart and mind more and speak about your feelings more. No one can do this work for another person. It is up to a person to decide if they believe there is a problem and if they want to do anything about it. If they do want to change, you can support them in their decision, but they must do the actual work. I found an important post when I was on Instagram, and it differentiates between enabling a person and being empathetic towards them. So when you're empathetic, you offer comfort, you validate their feelings, you maintain emotional boundaries, you help them navigate their experiences, and this all comes from a place of love and respect, and you really desire to hold space for them and support them. But when you are enabling them, you are allowing them to emotionally dump on you. You are justifying their poor behavior. You are attempting to fix their situation. You are constantly offering unsolicited advice. That's what I was talking about earlier on. Go to therapy. I think that if you join a support group, that might help. I sent you this to read. You are just constantly offering unsolicited advice. And it comes from being insecure or being afraid. Perhaps being afraid that you might lose that person. Perhaps being afraid that that person might become uninterested in what you are trying to show to them. Perhaps being insecure about your own issues. But can you see that there is a huge difference between giving someone support, being empathetic, and then enabling them? This is something that I found on a page called The Rising Circle on Instagram. Please go and follow them. They've got so many valuable things to share about just like taking care of ourselves in general and just being mindful of ourselves and other people. So we have to just ultimately realize that people are only going to do what it is that they want to do when a person is ready to do what it is that they want to do, they will. And if they aren't, then they won't. So also make sure that you are seeing when you are trying to be an enabler. Notice that, and then just don't go any further with it. Another thing that we all need to do is, like I said, just overall notice if you're trying to change other people. Be self-aware, be mindful. Are you minding your own business, or are you trying to force your agenda on someone else? You need to notice, you need to see it for what it is. Are you more invested in their healing more than they are in healing themselves? And that's another important thing that you need to see. Is a person trying to hear what you're saying to them when you say a thing, or are they really not interested? Because if they aren't interested, then leave them alone. And are you using manipulation? Are you using anger or other forms of control to get to a person? Are you also, very important, relying on someone else to heal you? I think we need to be living in community, loving one another, giving each other support, but we also need to be self-reliant as human beings, because it's great to have people supporting you, but you also need to be your own support system. When you are self-reliant, you're going to be able to see when you're doing too much. When you are self-reliant, you're going to be able to acknowledge that you are putting your nose where it does not belong. When you are self-reliant, you are probably going to be a self-aware person. So don't be looking for a knight in shining armor to rescue you from your problems, girl, because it's unrealistic, and it has the potential to become really, really toxic, and you are taking away from you being able to really work through your own things in your own way, at your own pace, and in sustainable ways. I think the biggest and best approach that I'm trying to have when it comes to working through my problems, the previous traumatic experiences I've had, is sustainability. I want my approaches to be sustainable. I want them to work in the long term, and looking for other people to help me deal with my issues is not a sustainable approach at all. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm going to work on being a self-reliant individual. I'm going to work on being self-aware. I'm going to work on identifying my feelings, my emotions, and being able to just be honest with myself. That's another really important thing. Being honest with yourself. So prioritize self-awareness, prioritize being conscious, and just prioritize working on yourself and releasing people that are not aligning with who you are, with where you're at in your life. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really, really do. This is where we are ending it for this week. Thank you again for joining me. Please don't forget that you can listen to A Cupful on all listening platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music. Type it into the Google search box and you are going to find a link. Please, please, please don't forget to share, because sharing is caring. And in this house, we love to share. Share this episode, share this podcast with a friend, and tell them to share it with another friend, and then tell that friend to share it with the other friend, so that we can all just indulge in this growth and this healing and this thriving and this truly living our lives to the fullest. And I hope that this space can be that to whoever needs it. I hope that this space can aid in someone's growth and just in their development, and just contributing to their overall well-being. So please just share. And if you obviously enjoy this podcast, please give it a 5-star rating. I would really, 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 really appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate you. I hope that you appreciate yourself. I hope that you are grateful for yourself, as we should all be. Have a beautiful remainder of this week. Rest when you need to. work when you need to. Be mindful of yourself, of your needs. Please, please be kind. Be kind to yourself and be kind to other people. And most importantly, don't forget to keep doing the things that fill your cup.